How's it going, everybody? The Warriors then just finished and we've seen the first actual gameplay clips of Ocelotl. We'll go over those and then a brief look at the patch notes in just a second. I do want to start with some really good news. Console Performance Mode. And this is probably the best iteration of this that you could imagine. Ubisoft also has a whole blog post about it, so please check that one as well. In short, what they did is unlock the frames. They didn't increase it to something and then capped it, they just unlocked them. So old gen as well as new gen gets something out of this. Obviously it varies because old gen consoles legit have bad hardware, there's no sugarcoating this. But these are the numbers you can expect. At the cost of some graphic quality, but it should be an improvement for everybody. So this is quite a nice surprise and we should give credit where it's due. This here looks like a great job. But now, new hero, Ocelotl. You can watch the React Andes for the armors and weapons, I will just talk about the moveset. For the final verdict, I obviously want to play the character, but his moveset is actually quite easy to summarize. Ocelotl has an infinite chain of everything, until you perform the same move twice. This includes zone attacks and bashes as well. Meaning, from every move, lights, heavies, zones, bashes, all of those have 3 iterations. An opener version, an in-chain version, and then a finisher version that does end your chain. That is the gist of his kit. You can chain these together until you use 2 of the same in a row. Now, what are the special properties on each of them? The lights are 400 ms in-chain and as a finisher. Then the heavies turn unblockable on the finishes, and the zones, they do get hyper armor. There is no blue move, meaning there's no undodgeable on this kit. The most complained about part though will be the bashes. You have a neutral legion kick, so depending on what the bash TG brings for him, this could be good or just mediocre, we'll see. The in-chain bash is feintable, which has been the case on many heroes lately. And then the finisher bash, it does look like a pin. And every single one of these bashes does direct damage, meaning they have no follow-ups. There's no light you can hit or no heavy afterwards. But since you have a bash into bash and 400 ms chain lights, this should make for a nice mix-up. So technically you have undodgeable in-chain lights and a assumedly pinning bash. So I can see a lot of people get upset about this. And then the other thing he has is a pseudo hidden stance where you can move around in. And then use a long range heavy out of it. I mean, it's not a long range, it's just a leap in heavy. They didn't show a feint for that move, so I'm quite baffled what the fuck I'm supposed to use this for. Getting to the move seems really slow because I haven't seen any recovery cancel into it or anything. And the heavy itself is also quite slow by the looks of it. So maybe we get a counter guard break setup, or I don't know. This one needs some solid testing, but at first glance it seems rather useless and gimmicky. Like it's like a not fleshed out part of his kit. It does do a lot of damage though. But for now that's it for the kit. Now it's time for the feats. I'm going to ignore tier 2 and 3 and we'll just talk 1 and 4. The tier 1 is probably the most busted thing we've ever seen, especially since there is no single pick in normal matchmaking. Ocelotl cannot respawn regularly, but is forced into a ghost form, unless you've been like ledged or executed, but that ghost form allows him to heal up and move around the map. The only restriction seems to be that you cannot initiate the respawn too close to an enemy player. Other than that, people will be respawning everywhere, and any form of rotational play will go out of the window, because Ocelotl has invisible rotations now, and you will have no idea that he's backcapping or respawning behind you in a fight. Stuff like losing a 2v2 and then respawning once your teammate has revenge will be a common sight. The potential of this feat is just insane. At lower levels, where nobody has any map oversight anyways, it's probably whatever, but at the higher levels where people actually do apply some tactics, this will be absolutely game breaking. And I do expect a comp ban almost immediately, to be honest. We'll have to experience it for the final verdict. How easy is it to identify that an Ocelotl is ghost walking around the map? Is there a UI indicator? Is there something on the minimap? Is there a sound that he makes when he runs past you? Is there anything that counterbalances this feat? Lots of questions that need answers, but as of now, I consider this one broken as fuck. Speaking of, Shimbob's range guard break is back in the form of a tier 4 feat. It seems rather unfun again, as it'll be an off-screen 40 damage projectile that gives the user a free guard break on top, which then should result in 3 heavies or a ledge depending on the scenario. We know range guard break was awful. We know big damage range projectiles are awful. So let's go and combine the two. At least it's a tier 4 with a long cooldown, not a tier 1 without any. But yeah, character will be tough, or rather the feats will be. Well, let's talk patch changes then for the other characters. First one is a George nerf. No more chaining after a whiff in Chain Bash. I didn't really consider it as too big an issue, but it's also not an unreasonable change. What seems unreasonable though was the slam damage nerf. Rather weird coming from me, right? Hear me out. The reason for that is that the in-chain zone is now the better option almost categorically. The slam was risky and the big benefit was the damage and the tier 2 feat proccing off it. Now the damage is on par, but you have the same risks. So unless you have revenge, there is no real reason to slam anymore, or rather the risks now outweigh the upsides. Then a Centurion buff. JC talked about the tracking issues and that they are much more complicated to fix, but they are working on it. In the meantime, the hyper armor on the charged jab kicks in earlier, which makes it no longer possible to just interrupt him after only a light hitstun. All in all, Centurion is creeping up the tier lists and he's probably going to be really annoying to fight now. Let's see how long it'll take for people to catch on. And then Caltrop nerfs. Duration and cooldown got way up. I want to see more nerfs, to be honest. I want to see them utilize damage numbers below 1. We tested recently and confirmed that For Honor can actually do this. So let's ignore the UI lying to us, because it's been doing that for years now, and just give Caltrops the nerf it deserves. But yeah, that's it. My really short overview of what's to come next Thursday. You will get an in-depth overview of the new hero once I get my hands on him. You know the drill and what type of video it'll be. Let me know if there's anything you're interested in particular or want to have us test in great detail. Either down below or on Discord, you know where you can find us. Having said that, hope the video was helpful. Thanks for watching. Laters, everybody.
The Ocelotl will hunt you across oceans, across the underworld. You will know our pain, but you'll never hear us call.